So we're going to get started with making the tofu. And this is really simple. I mean, I could make this in my sleep, but I have a block of this is firm tofu from Costco. They sell packages of tofu. Finally made two alive. Great. Smoothie looks delicious. Thanks, Anthea. So the Costco sells firm tofu in a package where I think you get four of them, and it's a really good price. So sometimes I get those, but a lot of times I just get extra firm tofu from Walmart. My husband gets it. It's like Nasoya brand. So I'm just going to make it in kind of big pieces. So one thing people do a lot of times is they crumble up the tofu too small. And if you do that, then the crumbles will be like too tiny and they won't be good. We're going to make this a little smaller before we put it in the oven. But for right now, I'm going to keep it on the bigger side just because I found that works better. If you get carried away with it, then it's not as appetizing when it's tiny. And then we have to put some different seasonings in here. So we're going to put in, let's see. Oh, Dorothy said hi. Hello, Dorothy. Good to see you. This is 4 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce. This is about 2 tablespoons of tahini. And I think the tahini gives it that real good sesame flavor. And then all that's left is a little garlic and ginger. So this is a really simple recipe. I'm just going to kind of mix it up. I'll mix it up a little bit more before we put it on the sheet tray. But you see why if you leave it in bigger chunks, when you mix the marinade on it, it doesn't make smaller chunks. If it's too small, once you start adding the marinade, then it's even smaller. Okay, so now we can add our ginger. I've peeled a little bit of ginger. And I'm just going to grate it with my microplane grater. I just got through doing a recorded video on how to make the rice, and I'm going to post that as well later on. I have to edit it a little bit. Okay, so this is a teaspoon of freshly grated ginger. And I buy the ginger, I just buy great big pieces of ginger because I like ginger. And if it starts to look like it's getting bad, like you'll see a little green speck somewhere, you go, oh no, my ginger's bad. That's not bad. Just cut that piece off and then stick it in the freezer because it's going to start getting green. But once you put it in the freezer, it'll freeze and you can take it out and use it. It's just not going to be the same texture, but it'll still be good. I usually put it in pieces about that big because that's kind of the size I use. Then I'm going to put in just 1 clove of garlic. I don't want to overpower it with garlic because it's kind of the Japanese flavor profile, and garlic is not that big of an ingredient. It's not a prominent ingredient. But I think the garlic in this case, adds a little extra flavor. So I'm going to grate the garlic too. So it's in real small pieces. And I think that will be good. I'm just going to grate it with my grater and then pop it in there. And I've shared this sesame ginger tofu recipe many times with people, so it's not a new recipe. But a lot of times I make it more with pieces of sliced piece tofu, not crumbles. So this time I'm making it with crumbles because one day I made this bowl, this crunchy sesame ginger tofu bowl. And it was just something I made up. And it was like, I was thinking, oh, I feel like having my sesame ginger tofu. And I want to have this, and I want to have that. And it needs to have a little seaweed to wrap it in, and kimchi, and avocado. I started naming all the things I felt like eating that day. And so I made up this bowl, and I thought, this is one of the best things I've tasted. So then it made me think, I need to make it for you guys so that you could see it. Okay, so now that this has been mixed up, and if you want to let it sit for however long, a few minutes, 20 minutes or so, that's great. But I never do. I'm always in a hurry. So once I mixed everything together, I'm just pretty much good to go. Then this is the part where I break it up a little bit more if it's a little bit too chunky because I spread it out. I'm just using my little spatula. You can use that or your hands. But I'm breaking up any chunks that look like they're bigger than the other ones. But what I'm after is just kind of a this size. Okay, let's see. Anybody have any questions? Looks like a small group today. I'm thinking about starting up another 21-day challenge in another week or so. Still have to recover from the crazy bundle stuff going on last week. But I thought about doing another 21-day challenge to follow the Daily Dozen for 21 days to help people that are new. So if you think that's something that you're interested in, send me a comment here and I might do it. I might do it anyway, but if you're interested. Okay, so we got this going. And so that broke everything up pretty nicely. Everything is even. And then I can put it in the oven and keep it in there for 30 minutes. Now, I've already made one earlier this morning. I'm have to wait. My pizza is still in there, so we'll put it in for 30 minutes. And I found that 30 minutes was about the right amount of time that I like it to be in there. Okay, so let's construct our bowl. First of all, because I called it a crunchy bowl, I have some crunchy ingredients. We're going to go ahead and start using those. And, they're vegetables. So, I think it's important to, if you're going to, whatever you're going to eat, because I do follow the Daily Dozen. And part of that is making sure you have plenty of vegetables every day, cruciferous vegetables and greens. And I have some greens here. So we'll be adding some greens. And then, of course, I like other vegetables, cucumbers, scallions, carrots. Those are things I just like. So I'm adding those. But, like I noticed this morning, I was out in the garden and we had a bunch of asparagus, fresh spring asparagus. It's beautiful, green, so pretty. So I'm definitely going to be thinking of ways I can use the asparagus more. All right. So now I'm just going to use this bowl for my vegetables. It's a little bit easier. Okay. Did you press the tofu? Yes, I did press the tofu. Like always for this kind of use, the only time I don't press tofu is if I'm making miso soup because it's going to go in a liquid. But I drained all the liquid. I wrapped it in a paper towel and then I wrapped it in a cloth towel, like a 100% cotton towel. And then I set a cutting board and a book on top of it and let it sit for like 30 minutes. Okay, let's see. Carol Joy. I'm having my morning smoothie. So good. That recipe, I know it's on my YouTube channel, but I could do it here on Substack sometime. I might do a breakfast one where I'm making my greens and smoothie. Would you guys like that? And it's just kind of a basic, here's how I make my daily smoothie thing. Okay, I'm just going to cut this in a quarter. I don't really need to make that much cabbage. It's just for me. My husband does not like raw cabbage. He does not like coleslaw. He doesn't like anything cabbage related. I don't think he even likes cooked cabbage. It's weird sometimes. Okay, so then I've got this on kind of a thin shred too, because I don't want any thick pieces of cabbage. I just want a little bit of thinly shredded cabbage. And you guys know in my daily salad essentials, Sharon says your greens and smoothie. Okay, she wants to see that. Okay, I'll definitely work on it. In my simple daily salad, I have this every day, but I wanted to show you how I do it because I already have some made out. But that's it. I just use my mandolin, which is in my Amazon store, and I just, run it across there. Now for the carrots, I like them to be julienne size pieces. So I put the julienne blade in the back, and then I just tighten the screws on the side. And then that gives me this little julienne blade to make matchstick pieces. So I'm just going to take one. I've got a couple carrots here. I'm just going to use one for now. When my dogs are here, they're in the room with my husband. I give them these little pieces. PJ joined. Hey, PJ, I'm making some sesame ginger tofu bowls. And then that's going to be my lunch today. I think it's going to be great. It might be my lunch tomorrow. So then when the carrot gets too skinny, those are the pieces I either snack on or give to the dogs. They love carrots. Okay. TJ lives in Fort Worth. And she's a good friend of mine, so she gets to sample a lot of my cooking, which I don't think she minds. Okay, and then with the cucumber, I think today I'm gonna just julienne the cucumber with the mandolins to make it really quick. I don't do this if I'm gonna have to hold on to the cucumber for long because it kind of makes the cucumber a little moist, but since we're gonna use it right away, it doesn't matter. So I've got cabbage, cucumbers, and carrots are all shredded on the mandolin. And then I have some scallions and I have greens. So I'm going to use both of those. So remember, I like to have a lot of vegetables in my food because, we're trying to eat all these greens and vegetables in the daily dozen. But also, I don't want to be sitting around all the time eating salad bowls. I mean, I love salad, but if I can incorporate the salad or the greens into my meal, then I'm really happy because then I don't have to think about eating a separate salad. Move this to the side, and then I have an avocado. Let me get my greens chopped up. I'm taking these greens and I'm shredding them up. I don't want too many of them. I don't have a lot of space in my bowl, but about a cup is a good serving of the greens. That's all I need. Put this where you could see there. So I've got my greens, I've got my scallions, I have an avocado. This is a little tiny one, but it's probably going to be a good one. Oh, yeah, it's very nice. I don't need a lot of it. I'm just going to put some avocado, cubes of avocado in my bowl because I think that's good, or maybe some pretty slices. How about that? We'll just make them pretty slices. Then I can just kind of lift it out of here. It's going to come out really nice, but I'm going to leave it in here until I need to put it in my bowl. Because if I take it out and I have to move it again, then that messes it up. So do that. All right, keep that paper. Now let's construct the bowl. So I told you I already made tofu this morning. This is the exact same tofu that I made a few minutes ago. And this is after 30 minutes in a 400-degree oven. So you see it's nice and brown. It's a good size. Some of the pieces are a little bit bigger than others, but they're all, they're a good size for a bowl. A lot of times I slice the tofu and then put it in little cubes. So you could do that too. But this time, I did it in the crumbles, and I like the crumbles a lot. And then we're going to put our rice in. I'll show you how I'm going to do the bowl. All right. So I've got my rice. I want to show you my rice. And I did a separate video on the rice, and I'm going to post that later today. So this is a rice cooker called a donabe, and it consists of 3 parts. It has the bottom, it has this steamer top, and then the lid. So I made the rice, and I'm going to use that in my bowl. And then you can watch the video on how I made the rice later. But basically, it's made on the stove top. So it's made here on my stove instead of a rice cooker. And that's the big difference is, most people are used to eating rice out of a rice cooker. But it's really kind of nice not to have a rice cooker because then the rice turns out really good, a lot better. And it's kind of old school. It's kind of like the original way people made rice. Okay, it looks like we have about 7 people. I'm going to measure out my rice in my rice bowl because that's about the right amount. And that's the amount the Japanese people eat. They don't eat, like a Chipotle-sized serving of rice where they keep shoveling it on your plate so that you end up with a mountain of rice. We don't really need that much rice. I just want that nice little one-person serving of rice. That's all I want. I don't need more than that. That's plenty. And then, we can build it and build the side where we're going to put our vegetables. So remember, I have the greens, and then I have the purple cabbage. I'll just kind of mix those together with the greens. I have the carrots, which are beautiful. I have my julienne cucumbers, which are also really pretty. And, I don't need to use all of this because I don't want to overwhelm the bowl and have too much in it. Anthea says, does the donabe sit directly on the stove? Yes, it does, but you have to have a gas stove. It does not work with a electric stove. Okay, so then I have the little scallions. I'm going to go ahead and put my avocado. So I'm sorry, it's people with electric stove tops, it's not successful. You can get a butane burner. A lot of people have the portable butane burners, and you can make it with that. But, that's another added kitchen gadget that some people don't want to invest in. I don't blame you. If it's not something you have, I put the avocado here in the corner. It's just, in its little slices, so it looks pretty. And then now we can put our tofu on top. Like I said, this is like my what do I eat every day kind of things. I could call this post Meals I Eat. And if you want more of that kind of stuff, I'm happy to do it because, like I make a lot of soups, I make a lot of bowls. And this is an example. I want this to stay on top. Come on, tofu, cooperate. I'm just kind of putting it on top. I'm touching it, but nobody eats this but me. Okay, so there's my rice with the sesame ginger tofu, all my crunchy vegetables, my avocado. And then I also want to put a little kimchi in here because I like kimchi. Now, if you don't like kimchi, just leave it off. Put another vegetable in here. You could put some kind of steamed vegetable or something in the corner, but kimchi is a fermented food, so it's good for your gut health. So, it's good to have around. Okay, Carol says yes. That looks so good. Thank you. Now we need a sauce. So we're going to make a sauce. And the sauce is going to be made from cashew cream. We're going to make our own mayo, like a spicy mayo, but it's cashew cream, which I'm not going to take the time to make cashew cream today because I have stuff to do. But I made the cashew cream by taking a cup of cashews that have been soaked for a long time. And then I put them in my blender with half a cup of water to 1 cup of soaked cashews. And then they turn into this. It's just, blended cashews. That's all. And I'm going to add some sriracha. I'm not measuring it because it's like about 2 teaspoons. Sometimes I add more after I taste it and look at it. I'll probably add a little bit more. And then I have some rice vinegar. That gives it a little bit of brightness, maybe a teaspoon of rice vinegar. And I think it needs to be a little spicier. So I'm going to put some more sriracha in it. But if you don't like your stuff super spicy, then don't put so much sriracha. Or you don't even have to put sriracha. You can just make the mayo, the cashew mayo, and add rice vinegar to it and a little soy sauce. Okay, Linda is on. Hi, Linda. And Kathy. Great. Now there's about 9 people. Outstanding. Okay, so this is my spicy cashew dressing. Or it's like an aioli. It's kind of like a plant-based aioli. So we can put that on our bowl, especially on the vegetable part, because that's the part that, you probably think, oh, that needs some salad dressing. But we can put it on everything. I think it's really good, just on the whole bowl. And, if we want to be fancy, we could put this in a piping bag or a Ziploc bag and pipe it on there, but I'm not today. All right, so we're not completely done because I have something called furikake. It's Furikake. It's a seaweed sprinkle. It has seaweed and sesame seeds. You can leave it off if you don't like that, but it's really good. And then I have some shichimi togarashi, which is a 7-spice red pepper paste, so the flakes. So it makes things kind of spicy. It's a really good flavor profile. It has 7 different kinds of spices in it, and some of that is hot pepper. So that's everything that's in our bowl. And you could see our bowl. It's kind of pretty, isn't it? It has all these colors. It's got purple, orange, green. avocados green, red kimchi, white rice, the brown tofu, and then the pink sriracha aioli. And then the last thing, and this is what I like to do, you may not be interested in doing this, is I like to take a piece of roasted seaweed, and this seaweed is already roasted. It comes roasted. It's a seaweed from Japan. You can buy this kind of seaweed in the Asian store or any regular store. It just looks, it's called roasted seaweed. And it don't get the kind that has added salt and oil, because the Korean seaweed that you can buy in little pieces like in Costco, the oil content is pretty high so I'm cutting my seaweed into smaller pieces. So those taste really good, but there's a lot of oil. There's like 2 grams per serving, and a serving size of those seaweed squares is like a fifth of the package. Well, most people just eat the whole package. So you're getting a lot more than what you think. So I cut my seaweed into little rectangle pieces. So now all that's left is to serve it. Oh, I have one more thing. Keep adding things. So we'll put this on my tray, my chopstick rest. We'll set these here on the side. You can just stick them in the bowl. It looks kind of cool. I have one more thing. I always keep my mother's teriyaki sauce that I make in my fridge. So little goes a long way. Use it sparingly. We can also take a tiny bit of that teriyaki sauce and drizzle it over the top. And I have shared this recipe many places before, but I'll put it in this video because it'll be here with all the other stuff and you can download it. So that makes it complete. It has the seaweed, avocado, the 2 sauces, all the vegetables, kimchi, rice. So what do you think? Is this something you'd eat? And then how do you eat it? Well, just take a piece of seaweed or not. You don't have to use the seaweed. You never have to use anything I have here. It's all whatever you want. But then you can just take all of it. And I'm trying to find a little bite of everything. A little tiny bite of kimchi. Then you can just load it all into a piece of seaweed like this. You're making like a little seaweed taco. And that's it. I had to take a small bite so I could still talk. But, basically you can make your seaweed squares bigger and make a larger seaweed square, or you can just eat this as a bowl. You don't have to add all this stuff. It's like a deconstructed sushi bowl. Yeah, kind of. But, okay, don't call, and this is a pet peeve I have, being part Japanese, half Japanese. If you call something a sushi bowl, then the assumption is the rice is sushi rice, because the term sushi is vinegar. It's like rice with vinegar. So if you call something sushi bowl, then that rice better be sushi rice with vinegar, sugar, salt, whatever. So just because it has ingredients like you would find in sushi, it's not automatically a sushi bowl. Okay. So, well, I mean, I'm not onto you, Anthony. I see all kinds of plant-based people calling their stuff sushi bowls, and I think it's not really sushi bowl because the rice is just plain rice. So if it's a plain rice bowl, it's just a rice bowl, and it might have sushi ingredients, and that's great because we do have some rice vinegar in here in the sriracha sauce. But call it anything you want. If you want to call it a sushi bowl, that's fine with me. But it just kind of, whenever I hear that, I always think, no, sushi means vinegared rice. I hope the rice has vinegar. But if it doesn't, and you want to call it that, go ahead. I'm at the point in my life where I don't really care what people call their stuff. But if it's something that is not accurate, then there's a part of me that wants to say, oh, that's not accurate. Just because, remember, I was in the military for 30 years. And I have that kind of mindset about things. Okay, so any questions on the crunchy sesame ginger bowl? Is this something that you would like to make? I hope so because I'm going to be putting the entire recipe for all the components of it here on my Substack page along with this video. And Anthea says, I appreciate the lesson. Oh, you're welcome. That way, if you want to make this yourself, you can make it and enjoy it. And I make all kinds of variations of this all the time. Like I'll make it with the tofu and leftover vegetables, leftover cooked vegetables, brown rice. I'll make it with, what else have I put in here? Pickled cucumbers. Like in the summertime, I have like pickled cucumbers and fresh vegetables from the garden, pea pods, snow peas. This would be good with my asparagus out of the garden. I have all this asparagus growing now. I could lightly steam the asparagus and put it on here along with the tofu and the other stuff. You could put edamame on here if you like edamame. You could add a few cooked edamame. It's like cooked, like take it out of the freezer and pour boiling water on it for 5 minutes, and then it's cooked enough. So you could do a lot of things to it. I think that's about all the things I would add. Oh, jalapeno pepper, serrano pepper. If you don't have scallions, you could use diced up onions or red onions or yellow onions. Other times I've made a sauce with soy sauce, tahini, and rice vinegar instead of the sriracha sauce, and I've used that, and it's really good. So, just make it your own. I just call it, to me, I just call it a sesame ginger tofu bowl. And this one I called a crunchy sesame ginger tofu bowl because it has all this cabbage and carrots and stuff in it. But that's it for this recipe. And I will be back soon, Monday, I think is my next time I come on, with some more recipes. And I will also post some things in the notes if I come up with an idea. Like tomorrow, I'm going to be doing some family dinner stuff. So I may or may not go live spontaneously just when I'm cooking something. But it was great to talk to all of you. And I hope that you make my recipes and look for this one to come up later today. All right. Bye, everybody.